You're listening to Soap Dirt, the latest in television entertainment news.
Hey, GH fans, Belinda from Soap Dirt, and we've got to talk about the latest information about the shooter targeting Sonny Corinthos. He just told Dex Heller that this is someone that knows their security measures, and to me, that sounds like an inside job, somebody close to Sonny or who was once close to Sonny. We're going to dig into who it could be. Could it be Jason? Could it be somebody else from the family who's not around anymore? There's a few people that it might be, and there's chatter that a blast from Sonny's past is coming for him. But first, please click subscribe. Now let's dig in. All right, we heard from Sonny, his theory, somebody who knows how the Corinthos cartel operates in terms of security. He feels like it may be some sort of inside job, sounds like. I don't think it's somebody who currently works for Sonny, but it could be someone from his past. There are 3 casting spoilers that may or may not overlap and pertain to this twist. Of course, you know, Jason Morgan's on the way back. And then there's another one saying someone that has been gone for years is back, more years than Jason's been gone. And then another spoiler saying that someone from Sonny's past is coming for him. So with all these in mind, I do have a few suggestions of who might be the one trying to take Sonny out. One is a character we've seen pretty recently, one not seen since 2021. Of course, that's Jason. One not since 2022. 2 are from several years back, but are exciting to consider, even though they may be long shots, but I still want to talk about them. So we're going to start with the long shots. We're not going to start with Jason. So my number, I have 5 candidates. My number 5 person on the bottom of my list, but I think worth mentioning, Morgan Corinthos. I include him because, you know, he always wanted to be part of Sonny's organization. He died in a very mobbed up way, blown up in Julian Jerome's car by Julian's sister, Olivia Jerome, who had a car bomb put in there. And that was all while Morgan was spiraling because his mobbed up ex, Ava Jerome, had tampered with his mental meds. I think it'd be great to have Morgan back, but Bryan Craig is pretty busy. If it were Morgan, he'd have to be a recast, I think, but he would know Sonny's habits, how the cartel operates because he grew up around it. However, I will say I'm not really getting a Morgan vibe off of this, and he doesn't really match the ages of the leaked info I've seen, but I feel like we'd be remiss not to at least consider possibly it's Morgan. My number 4 person next on my list is someone I would love to have back on General Hospital. Ric Hearst as Ric Lansing, Sonny's vengeful half-brother. You know, Ric once worked with Sonny and for Sonny, also for his rivals, to be fair, but Ric is somebody that absolutely would have the knowledge base and the skill set to pull off what is happening right now. And he's got such a long-running hatred of his brother that it fits his mindset and his constant need for revenge. I will say I don't see Ric. He can be violent sometimes, but I don't see him as a trigger man. But I could totally see him hiring the trigger man who has taken some shots at Sonny. So there's also this spoiler about a blast from Liz Weber's past showing up at her door. And, you know, obviously with Jason coming back, the thought is, oh, it could be Jason. I do not think, by the way, y'all, that Lucky Spencer's coming back. I would pull that off your brain. I don't see it. But anyway, Ric, though, is definitely a blast from her past as well as Sonny's. I would love it if Ric Lansing were back, bitter as ever, making trouble, although I don't feel like it's him either. The next one on the list, I'm including him because some of the leaked info I've seen hinted it might be him, and that's Shawn Butler. Shawn Blakemore has not been seen on General Hospital since 2022 as Shawn Butler. Sonny basically left him rotting in prison for the shooting of Hayden Barnes, which he didn't do. Remember, Nicholas Cassadine had taken out a hit on his wife, Hayden. That was, I think that was back in, was that still Tyler Christopher time period? Yes, it was. It was Tyler Christopher. I had to pause and think, scrape my cranium for that information. It was in there. So yeah, Nicholas had taken out a hit on her. Shawn was actually there that night gunning for Drew. That was back in the Billy Miller days. And Shawn went to jail. Nicholas's hitman got away, and Nicholas's hitman was the one whose bullet hit its mark, although she didn't die, and Shawn missed his shot, wound up in prison anyway. I do love Shawn. He was great with Alexis Davis. You remember their romance? And I think he still owns the Invader, right? So Shawn could come back with a grudge against Sonny for letting him rot in jail. Maybe. I mean, Shawn left town without confronting Sonny, but he definitely did time when he didn't do that crime. Of course, he did plenty of other crimes, but Shawn definitely knows all about Sonny's cartel habits and how they work, and he's a crack shot, aside from missing Drew that day. So yeah, he could have been the Metrocourt shooter and the Puerto Rico shooter. I mean, I'd hate if they brought Shawn back against Sonny, but maybe. And he could be working with the next person on my list. So number 2 is Selina Wu. She's a blast from Sonny's very recent past, but the people that write spoilers don't always do a very good job with them. So I'm taking the spoiler with a grain of salt. She's close enough to Sonny and has spent enough time around him and his people and his organization to observe how everything runs, his security protocols, things like that. She could absolutely be the one behind these shootings. As for the Metrocourt shooting incident, maybe she had her marksman aiming at Sonny. Maybe Curtis also. You know, she did want Curtis out of her way and Sonny out of her way too. I do like having a bad lady mob boss in Port Charles, and I do miss seeing Miss Wu. Lydia Look has been off screen since last year. It'd be great to have her back, and I could totally see her conspiring with someone else against Sonny, whether it's Shawn Butler, Ric Lansing, Morgan Corinthos, Brennan, the WSB guy. I think it would be a whole lot of fun. All right, number 1 on my list is, of course, Jason Morgan. After the reveal that it's someone with deep inside knowledge, I mean, you have to think, could it be Jason? We know that Burton is back soon, and while he didn't leave with an agenda against Sonny, he might have come back with one, but not of his own volition. He's been missing for a couple of years, and when he supposedly died, Victor Cassadine was very much alive and an active villain. I could totally see Victor having Jason dug out of the rubble and then brainwashing him just like he did his twin Drew. I do know in Jason's medical history, there's some scar tissue in his brain that you may say would make it problematic. But let me remind you this, GH writers don't care about history when they want to write something new. They just do a retcon or they just don't ever mention it again. So don't get too caught up in that because they are perfectly capable of ignoring something from medical history. I've seen it too many times to count. A rare blood type mentioned back in time, all of a sudden it's no problem and they're getting a transfusion now. Somebody's infertile, but then suddenly they're pregnant. GH doesn't care. So, and I will say this, no, they weren't even in talks about Steve Burton's return back in July 2023 when the Metrocourt shooting went down. But GH also abandons plots all the time, or they will abandon, resurrect, they will change who's the culprit, like the Hook Killer. I am very certain that at one point they had decided it was going to be Esme when they started that storyline, but then they flipped it over to Heather Weber so they could sort of make Esme redeemable. You know, they changed the Port Charles Strangler culprit mid-plot to somebody who had confirmed alibis for several of the stranglings. They changed that whole Luke Fluke Bill Eckert storyline over to dissociative identity disorder when fans had figured out what they were up to. They've done it too many times to count. So they could just piggyback the Metrocourt shooting onto Jason's return if indeed he is the one with inside knowledge and he's been programmed to go after Sonny. I don't think he would go after Sonny unless he'd been programmed. You know, I just don't think he would. In the end, I'll be honest, I'm still hoping it's somebody who's not even on this list. I'm hoping for Alcazar, but I'm not sure how he'd know the ins and outs of Sonny's organization. Unless he's been spying on them for a while, they could explain that away. He could have an associate like Miss Wu, or maybe Jason Morgan is doing his bidding as a brainwashed thug. So many possibilities. February sweeps kicks off this week. I expect we're going to find out more soon. And towards the end of sweeps, I think we're going to get a glimpse of Jason. Whether he's part of this mob plot targeting Sonny remains to be seen. These are just the people that, based on the most current information, I think could be part of it. I'm feeling like it's Jason. Let me know what you think in the comments. Be sure and come back soon for more on GH and subscribe if you haven't already. Thanks so much for listening. This is Belinda from Soap Dirt.
Thank you for being a loyal listener. Follow us wherever you get your podcast, because you don't want to miss the next episode. Soap Dirt is on all the major podcast platforms, including Apple Podcast, Spotify, iHeartRadio, and more.